Good evening. You're listening to the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob. Tonight's episode, Xtreme TV. Season 3 of Cobra Kai, currently showing on Netflix. Episodes 3 and 4 we are going to be reviewing. I'm with RDV and Professor Pixel. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
Doing good. Great.
Nice. Look, we start talking about Cobra Kai. It's very popular. Everyone's binge watching it. We really like the first 2 episodes. I was taking the negative path of I'm really curious to see how they're going to keep up this level of awesomeness. A lot of things have happened, of course, and jumping right into episode 3 called Now You're Gonna Pay. I will say this. When Miguel came out of his coma, I was surprised it happened quickly. I thought, honestly, the smart play would be to let all the other characters figure things out and do what they're going to do and have Miguel kind of maybe come out of it at the end of the, season 3. But the fact that he came out of it really quick, I'm not saying it was the wrong decision or bad decision. I guess I was surprised because it seemed to happen so quick, but it leads to some pretty interesting things. And for me, we'll talk about that here in 3 and 4. But to me, I think things really start to pick up in episode 4 as we get into the middle of the season here. So those are my initial thoughts. Really good episodes. Really shocked at how good some stuff is in 4. Let me start with you, Pixel. What are your initial impressions of these 2 episodes?
Well, thinking about it, I really prefer the 4th episode over the 3rd episode. But that's not to say that the 3rd episode was bad. There hasn't been a single episode so far that's been poor in quality.
Yet.
I don't know. I'm one of the few people that haven't binge watched it here, so no spoilers. But yeah, these episodes are solid. I'm really excited to talk about 4 because I've actually never seen either of the sequels to the Karate Kid, so
yeah, it gets pretty major there too. What about you, RDV? Your quick thoughts initially about these 2 episodes?
I thought they were pretty extreme.
I like the way you said that.
I mean, I liked them. There's a couple different things with each of them that I thought was kind of like, but like overall, I'm enjoying the series the more and more I watch it. So. And the only thing that sucks about this series being out now is the fact that I got 2 other shows I'm trying to watch. It just came back. So yeah, trying to get through this.
A show like this that's so good, like you're saying, if Netflix wouldn't be better served to just release 1 episode a week or something and really stretch it out and really milk it, in all honesty. And I don't mean slow playing it like with The Walking Dead where half the episodes are crap and filler, or other shows that are that way. These episodes are only like 30-35 minutes long. They flow. They don't seem like there's much waste in it, but you never know what they're going to do, and I like the fact that they have some flexibility with it. I'm hearing that season 4 is probably already wrapped by now, filming, even though it hasn't been officially announced. There could be a couple more seasons after that. So we're really, if you think about it long term, probably only halfway through the entire potential universe that's created for it. And I think fleshing that out, it's really allowed them to do things that they're doing in these 2 episodes. So, for example, I mentioned before about how Miguel came out of surgery really quick. Well, obviously he's paralyzed, doesn't know if he's ever going to be able to walk again. He's having problems with Johnny. So Johnny's on this path where, Johnny sees his ex and they're trying to figure out what to do and how to get, raise money for him. And of course he goes to see his asshole father, rich guy, who I think's Ed Asner, by the way, who does a great job of being a real prick, even though he's very one note. But for me, the Johnny stuff is probably better than the kid stuff. I think the children's stuff in these episodes, honestly, that I've been saying, are the worst of everything. Meaning, I like the characters. It's just interesting to see what happens to them. Some of them don't seem like they're horrible kids, but they annoy me, and I don't care about them. So I'm finding myself, 2.5 seasons in now, going into season 3 here, going like, I'm really getting more emotionally connected to, say, Johnny, or even say what Daniel goes through here, because even though Daniel's having issues with his car place, we know that they're probably going to figure something out. This show doesn't really make it that bad. So that was kind of boring, but boy, oh boy, does it set up this big angle with him having to go back. And Pixel, to your point, not having seen the sequels, they're very invaluable for what's going to happen here. So just keeping it in episode 3 for right now too. Daniel's angle is, and they decide to go with this first. And I think that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the time you have, it means you don't have to pay too much attention to the kids. Is you're getting aware the guy across the street who's a real jerk, and it's continuity because he had kicked the coffee out of his hand, I think, in season 1. So they had this little business sort of combat going, but it doesn't seem like it's too bad. And he's a clown. He hires some of the guys who used to work for LaRusso, and he finds out that, oh my God, we're going to lose business because our suppliers decided to go with them and not us. And the guy was trying to undersell it, blah, blah, blah. I'm going, why are they telling me all this? I don't care about the guy across the street. And of course, he has to go to Doyona, not Toyota, but Doyona, I think is what it is. He has to go to the company's headquarters and do things old school, face to face, like it matters with the Japanese. And of course, it makes it to where he fails and has to go back to Okinawa. Really good stuff for Daniel. I think it's Daniel's best angle that he's had the entire show. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I do agree. Sorry, I when you were saying I realize now the name of the other company. I thought you were talking about Okinawa, and I was like, do you mean Okinawa?
Not yet. We're in episode 3.
Yeah.
Well, you're the one who just said it. In episode 3, though, I really do like the fact that they brought back the guy that used to work for them.
Yes.
And at the end, when he pretty much says, "I quit," going back to the LaRussos, it was one of those really nice moments until he was like, "Wait, you're not sure this is going to work?"
Well, I want to bring up another point. The priest that Johnny walks into the church drunk is, a skunk. Because the previous episode, his son just got arrested, in jail, and Miguel wants nothing to do with them, pretty much.
Bobby Brown.
Yeah, he's up. Yeah, Bobby Brown, former Cobra Kai student from the movies. I'm not sure which one, if he was in the first or the second one.
That may get more meaning potentially with season 4 or even later in this season. We'll find out.
Well, he does. Well, I'm saying he's important now because the fact that Robbie is in juvie.
Yes.
And he helps Johnny set up a way to see his son. But instead of doing that, he bails on his son again. Once again, he proved that Johnny is an idiot and goes to visit because he gets a call that Miguel is awake from the coma. Pretty much from that. He goes to visit him instead. Well, Robbie's in there struggling with the Miyagi thing, peaceful. He's got these 3 bullies. They're beating up people. Now they're picking on him now, or they're going to pick on him, and he basically doesn't want to get in trouble because he knows if he gets in a fight, he's going to be in there longer because he's only in juvie, but he could go to actual adult jail.
Yep.
And Daniel's trying to talk to him, and seals it down. That guy comes up, offers him a deal. We see Sam, who heard that he's awake too, because she got a phone call from Miguel's mother. She goes visit him. She gives him a card, but in a ends of the scene when they were going to
really cute card.
Yeah.
About you occupying my time or something. That was really cute. I like that.
Because remember, he bought her. She won when they went to the.
That's right.
The bowling alley.
That's
got her. Yeah. And what really makes me mad is that Hawk shows up and the way Miguel treats Sam. And I'm thinking, if you like Sam, you wouldn't have treated her the way you did. Why do you even fight for her then at the school? What an idiot.
I'm glad you brought that up because this is the major point I've been biting my tongue on as far as this season. I think this is the season where Cobra Kai really, the member berries, all that stuff, all the hype for it that lasted for 2 seasons, definitely all of season 1 and most of season 2. The episode's really crashing down to earth hard and fast. I'm not saying it's a bad show, but I'm saying there's certain elements that are no longer cute. I want to see what they're doing with it. I want them to get on with it, and I'm not tired of it. But here's the problem, and I think what you're bringing up is a good illustration of it, is this. While the show tries to hit all the right notes, give you some drama, give you some romance, and they try to do it where it's in a bit of a wholesome manner, and I appreciate that. There's a lot of kids. There's almost too many, in my opinion, and we all know just from watching a show that, of course, the kids are going to kind of fall in the same problems that the adults had when they're young, and that's the whole circle of life in terms of movies we're going to see. That's fine too. Okay, it doesn't offend me. But here's the thing. Sam is to me the most unlikable character, period. The most useless one is, and I don't know if it's this episode or season 4, but there's a scene where Sam's, kind of arguing with her parents outside the house or something. And what was the calorically challenged individual that was called Daniel's son that sat at the table and ate, his pancakes when Sam wouldn't in season 1 and 2, just shows up for like 10 seconds on screen. So I'm going, why is he there? Why is he necessary? I don't get it. It doesn't seem like it'd be Daniel's kid. It just, there's definitely kinks in the armor showing up that if you look at it, you're going, okay, why do I care? Because a lot of these kids, they're switching sides. They're going to different, factions, which again, you can expect that. So the main ones too, I'm going, I don't care about any of them. I think Robbie, who looks like a big time crybaby, is at his best when we see him being street smart and creative and problem solving, not whining and crying and being a bitch as he's being called by the somewhat almost intimidating 80s looking guy in jail. And then Sam, like I say, so unlikable. I can't stand her. I don't care if she gets her ass beat or not. She's supposed to be the best student of all of them, really. But then you've got Tori, who, regardless of her situation or how crazy she may seem, her character is very consistent with who she is, and she's very naturally assertive. And that's the whole problem of the show. That goes down to the creation of the two characters. Johnny, back in the day, had his girlfriend. LaRusso butt in on it. That caused their friction. They're working through it, which is fine. But Tori's the only one that seems like she's trying to move her life a little bit forward. The other ones are just kind of sort of there and hangers on. But I almost feel like she gets crapped on a little bit. And then Sam, like in Miguel now, is just, it sounds like a drama, but it's ridiculous. And I'm ready to say something to RDB. I'm getting to that point where half of these angles I just don't care about. I'm not saying they're horrible or they're bad. I'm trying not to say it, but I'm just like, why do I care? Why should I be emotionally invested for some girl like Sam who completely screwed everything up in the first 2 seasons, almost becomes bearable, and now is getting to a point where I just don't care. And we know Miguel's going to act like a whiny, scared kid, even though Johnny's trying to do everything he can to help him out, and things are working out. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that Sam is actually like Elizabeth Shue in this whole entire story, even since season 1. Obviously, Johnny was kind of, it's like she's confused, and the whole thing is this.
Drawn between lovers, just like a fool. The old song, yeah. That's a good point, actually.
She's like Elizabeth Shue, but then and that's another point. She's basically like, I want to say she also channels being like her father, and when he was younger. She has her own enemy, which is Tori, and doing all that stuff. So she's not a normal kid. She's put into a situation where most kids would not be in. Her dad's a famous karate kid, karate guy.
She's a spoiled little rich brat who's got.
She was in the beginning, but I guess like any kids make freaking mistakes, and I can't fault her for that. Robbie came on. Here comes Robbie, who's Johnny's son. Comes in like Daniel LaRusso, comes in and steals away from Miguel. Miguel is Johnny. Then she realized that, hey, this guy painted like the real, like they're trying to paint Daniel in this whole series. Daniel was the jerk, not Johnny. So Robbie coming in is being the Daniel of the group. Comes in, steals him away from Miguel, who is basically the Johnny, who's supposed to be the good person in this whole entire series. The better. It kind of makes sense. It's kind of reflecting that as far as that, in a deeper sense.
We saw his dark turn, and in season 2, it was about what? I'm talking about Miguel. Miguel went dark at the end of season 1.
Yes.
He was trying to redeem himself through season 2, and then he got hurt. He showed mercy, and that led to him getting kicked. And
but as far as Robbie has a history, because Robbie was someone that Daniel thought Relucio thought he could change stuff, but Robbie never really cared for that. As Robbie is the person that he's got his. We're being told as you watch this, we're being told that he's just like his father. His father's a hothead. And one thing is that both of them are hotheads. But the thing about Robbie is that, like, yes, he gets annoying. It's like, the fact that they got this kid who's got street smarts and all this stuff, he's trying to change weight, become a better leaf, ends up making a mistake. There's not really I'd say a villain in this as much anymore, is because both characters, Miguel and Robbie, have both played the villain in this series, and they're both trying to redeem themselves, trying to be better. Like I said, they're reflecting the fathers too. So everyone, and as far as too many kids in here, there isn't really many kids in here at all. You only get like episode 3 where they do the car wash where you see all the kids, but hardly ever do you see any of the kids in this cast other than Tori, Miguel, Robbie, or Sam. That's it. You don't see anybody else. Hawk, yes. He's setting him up to be the new leader of Cobra Kai, and you're gonna see Miguel join the Dogo. He's gonna join the Miyagi, because how can he be friends with Kreese, which Kreese is doing? I don't see Miguel returning to being Kreese's little like lapdog, because I unlike Hawk, what's his name? Miguel has a conscience. Yes, there's a chance he could go back, join the Cobra Kai because he's mad because I showed mercy and this would happen to me. But as you see him as the episode goes through, especially the way he acted with Sam and everything, it's just he's internally conflicted. But he's got a mom who's got a good heart. Like I said, he's the Daniel, but he's also the Johnny too at the same time. They're both channeling both characters, because what they're trying to say is that Daniel and Johnny are two sides of the same coin, but they're also the same person, though. They each, what your choice is, what it reflects your consequences. And both of them, in each of the movies and the TV series, have made bad choices. So there's not really just a villain. The villain is basically like not learning from your mistakes. Like like I said, the biggest villain in this I've seen so far is Kreese, and now we have Hawk, who has been teased all his life, is now, hey, I got something good going on. Miguel, you ruined it by betraying us. You don't care about us, that Sam girl. You're not a Cobra Kai. Like I said, you're gonna have Miguel versus Hawk. They're setting that up for the next thing. Robbie is gonna be in jail for the next this entire season, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's only there's 10 episodes. 10 episodes. I only watched 4.
10 episodes.
I'm going through the episode and just watching this stuff. It's like, Johnny still makes mistakes. Danny makes mistakes. Danny is arrogant, and doesn't like to admit to mistakes. But then he starts realizing, that as he's getting more flashbacks in the show, he's remembering he's remembering what Mr. Miyagi was said, because he's at the point where he's struggling, and we see that with his car dealership failing.
It doesn't feel like it though.
Yeah,
it just doesn't to me. Feels like he's a guy going, hey, I got a speck of dust on my $400 Jordans. It's like, I just don't feel like he's struggling.
As far as emotionally struggling, his business could go under. He could lose his business because he got the guy who wants to buy his dealership, made a back deal behind his back with his main provider, gives him all his cars, so he won't be getting cars from Japan. So he has to go there. That's what leads into episode 4. Like I said, and as it is, there was parts in the first or second season where he might have lost his wife.
Shoulda.
Well, and I'm just saying, this, you may think that he comes off as because the first season, because he's a big time thing. He's a schmuck. Where they're painting Johnny as underdog, but both of them, like you said, Danny has lost his way. Obviously, he's let fame and stuff, fortune go at his head.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you find out more, like I said, as you go into episode 4. If I don't know, pixelizing more about episode 3, but I want to point out quickly on episode 3 before we jump into episode 4, is that we see that basically, what was it? What was I looking at? Oh yeah, because they want to raise money for Miguel needs a surgery. It's the car wash. So they raise a car wash. Even Sam, being the better person, even though Miguel didn't treat him well as Hawk. Most girls would be like, it's like, oh, why do you let your guy talk to me? I had nothing to do with you. It's like, you didn't stand up for me. Sam is in his sense, being a Hollywood sense, doesn't really matter. She still does what's right because she cares about Miguel. Whether their relationship or not, she's a person that still cares and she wants to do what's right.
I think she's being a sappy teenager going, oh, I don't have anybody that's paying me any attention, therefore I will go to somebody that I think I can, who's in a weakened condition.
They're all sappy though.
I agree.
You
But
can't single her out.
to your point though, her being like a young what's her face character that you mentioned before, I think spot on because she's very manipulative. She knows what she's doing. It's not an accident.
She's confused.
I think you're painting it wrong because she's doing what's right because of Miguel. It's not for her. She's doing it because of Miguel. She's getting Miyagi-Do involved.
I don't think it was attention at all. She's not doing it like I'll get popular in school. No, she's done with being popular. She saw what being popular.
I didn't say that kind of popularity. She wants the attention of a man. It's like a lot of young girls have a boyfriend, whether the kid's good or not, because
she doesn't have a boyfriend though. She's not with anybody.
Yeah, no,
she has her radar set on Miguel, and we know that.
Yes, because he's her first. Because Miguel was her first boyfriend.
Okay, but in this situation, you cannot say that it's right that Cobra Kai pretty much beat up the little Asian kid and took the money. At the end of this episode, when they opened the door and Sam was like, "What's wrong?" And the Asian kid stepped up. He looked pissed, but he looked so cool in that 1 second. Because he got his ass kicked, and
the other funny part is that we see Johnny trying to raise money himself. He's like, I'm not going to see my old man. Screw him. So he goes and applies different job things, and he goes.
Funny anymore.
He shaves his beard off, cleans himself up, puts on his breast brown shirt. He must only own one suit because I think that's one he wore in the first season too.
It might be.
So he's going. He dresses like my old principal. Anyway, so he goes there and he goes up the interview. The guy's like, "Oh, I noticed he didn't check like prior, or before that." He said he's like, "Yeah, computer. Yeah, I know. I want to connect to the internet. I'm good with computers." So it's like.
That was a good thing, yeah. Talking and he tells him why, and he's like, "Oh, that was stupid. I shouldn't have done that."
Yeah. The guy's asshole. I noticed he didn't prior convictions and all that. Wrestling. He's like, well, I did this, and then it's like, I beat up a guy, and put him in and like all this stuff. And it's like, and then there's this and this, and then he's like, and at the end, like the guy's
assaulting a minor.
Yeah, assaulting a minor. Well, they were pricks. Yeah, it's really yeah.
So we're gonna do episode 4.
But did you notice though? In the paper when he's in the car, he's circling like and there's like. So female dancers
the question mark in
the circle.
Those little things they put in there are pretty cute, for each character. I think they do them a lot for Johnny to pop us, but some of it's getting tiring, like him selling that stuff. It just wasn't fun anymore.
But
going into episode 4, though, I want to switch over to Pixel because Pixel, you'd mentioned that you're not really familiar with the sequels and stuff, and a lot of people saw the second film. Much fewer people saw the third one, and then of course the fourth, and with the new character and whatnot. But in the second one, basically what it is Miyagi's got to go back to Okinawa. Daniel goes with them. It's actually not a bad movie. It's decent. Peter Cetera, I think, did the Glory of Love. That was where the song was from. Dennis DeYoung, former lead singer of Styx, I think had a song in there as well. He meets in this very small village where Miyagi grew up. He learns more about Miyagi's story about how he got to be where he is. You see the old ways with the two big families in a small little town right next to an old army base and what's going on. So there's some allegory about that, I guess. But the second movie doesn't get into it. But of course, he meets a woman, and I don't think it's really explicitly implied that the two have physical relations, but they definitely have a very strong connection. And there's actually a pretty neat scene, I suppose, if you're young and romantic, where Kamiko, I think's her name, actually performs the tea ceremony for him at the end because it's kind of like a big deal. But the thing about it too is as much as this movie is, it's kind of dark in that literally Daniel has to fight this guy from the village to the death, and that's the famous Miyagi line where he goes, "Daniel-san, this is no karate studio. This is real life," And of course, he learns a special technique to defeat the guy in this thing, and it's a flashback. You're going to see it. So if you don't see the movie and you don't know anything about it, you don't have to. And that's one thing that for season 3 does well.
Yes, I was just about to say, like I said in the last review. When we watched Ash vs. Evil Dead, they did the same thing.
Yes.
They perfectly showed the key moments that you needed to understand what you're watching right now, and it went perfectly. And I was waiting for us to talk about this episode just so that I could say, I even though I've never seen any of the any of the Karate Kid sequels, I feel like I understand enough. At the end of this episode, and I won't say it because we'll save it for the end of the review. At the end of this episode, when the surprise guest appears, the series of flashbacks that they show, you're instantly thrown into that moment, and you understand, at least what feels like is about to go down.
Yeah, the only two quick observations I'll make about this episode is I liked a lot more because when he tells the cab driver, "Hey, Tommy Village," and so he takes them there, and he's like, "Oh, how long you been from Tommy Village?" He's like, "Really long time." He sees that they've made like this shopping mall, like this outdoor open air market, and of course looks nothing like the old one. That was really, really funny. That's like what South Park did years ago when they redid the whole downtown with the Whole Foods and everything. It was really funny, but it was actually done very well and done very realistically. And of course he runs into Kumiko. And I will say this, I believe it's the same actress that played her. She was kind of cute when she was young, but she seemed very, not immature, but naive in the ways of the world back in the 80s movie. Today she'd be, it wouldn't be that way, but it makes you go, wow, okay. But in this film, or in this episode, I went, holy crap, she's extremely cute, she's older, she's just very classy, and it really stands out well how she handles it, and her smile and her beam, the chemistry between these two. I'm like, holy crap, if they don't try to flip these two on Daniel's wife, in a weak moment, my goodness, because Daniel does all the wrong things that a man shouldn't do necessarily. I would say a married man, you don't put yourself in situations to be tempted, because I tell you, the electricity on screen between these two, because of Kumiko's performance, the actress, was just fantastic. But the best scene, is when the bad dude from the second film that we were talking about just a moment ago, Chosen, is sitting there, and he's got the stone cold killer look on his face, and he's an older dude. But if you'd watched the second movie, you'd be like, Chosen's a decent looking guy, but he's kind of jacked, especially for Asian. You look here and he's older, so you go, oh, it's an old Asian dude, and you're like, no, that's still him, and he's still very fit looking. You're like, these fuckers, I'm sorry, these guys are going to fight. You're like, this is going to be badass. And it was really good. And he's just sitting there like he's staring daggers through Daniel. Oh, it's so awesome. But no, again, focusing on this stuff, and I'm not trying to say adult versus kids, but more well-established characters that we either love or hate, I think are doing better in this season than the characters that are flip-flopping around. It would, to me, the exception of Tori. So, RDB, let me go over to you. What's your take on all that?
Episode 4. There's a few things that I thought were kind of cool. They brought back a character, Yasmin, who was the popular girl that that everybody hung around Moon and Sam were trying to become, because they're the popular clique.
Well, she was in the first episode that you had pointed out, playing the acoustic guitar, the hippie stuff.
That's Moon. That's Moon.
Yeah.
I'm talking about,
sorry. Yes,
Yasmin is the blonde that both Hawk and Dimitri liked.
Yes.
And I love this. And they're in the lunchroom. They're all sitting there, like Sam sitting there, and they have like the Moon, and they also have Yasmin sitting at the table. Dimitri brings up their science project that he's supposed to do with Yasmin, and she's like, "Oh, I gotta be stuck with you, whatever. Better give me a good grade." And he brings out, he has like this old dinosaur thing. It's a volcano that pulls out smoke and everything. She's like, and she's kind of like getting a little bit, she's getting a little excited by that. She's like, he's popular and everything. He's like, I don't care. He's like, I'm more popular than you are. He's got an attitude and everything. I love it. And Hawk gets jealous.
All over the floor.
He sees this. He gets jealous. And I love how perfectly he throws the ball at the thing, knock it over. Right when he says, like, because right when Dimitri's like, unfortunately, that the Jurassic period was destroyed by the asteroid came, and here comes the soccer ball and knocks it over. I was like, perfect timing. And so this leads to eventually to, like, they can't fight because here comes the concert. And she's like, you have a problem here, guys? Like, no, nothing. And like, Hawk's being all sweet to her, and I mean, like, they're just invading my safe space and stuff. I'm thinking, like, wow, he's using the PC crap. Like, if I was, a bully, yeah, I'd use this crap too to get with stuff if I could, especially these days. That's all you gotta do is say like, oh yeah, you're in my safe space, just pretend to be, and eventually this leads to a soccer game where they can do full contact sports. And they're just, both sides are just going crazy, doing like judo kicks and all that crap, and the flips and stuff.
All the flopping,
like leg sweeps.
Soccer match too.
Oh yeah, no soccer. And I'm watching the coach on the side is like, she's like, what the heck's going on? She's like, that's enough. You can't stop. All right, this game's finally over. And I was just laughing my butt off because it's like, dang, like they're getting full contact sport. I'm like, it's just like watching like Shaolin soccer movie. Do you remember that?
But you see, there's a note that's important about this soccer game because afterwards, both teams get in trouble and they go to the sides, the ones involved at least, and the principal, whoever she is, the guidance counselor, she comes in and she tells every member of Cobra Kai that's there, okay, you're good to go. Go ahead. And she turns to the others and say, you have detention. I think that's 2 weeks of detention, miss. It's...
What did she say? Is it bullshit?
No, she says, this is bullshit. This is not how we react. She bangs against the locker and says, school sucks. And she storms off. I don't think... I mean, I guess that was a good moment of frustration, but at the same time, I absolutely understand why she's frustrated. This whole... I really want Hawk to get hurt. I want him to go into a coma, maybe not wake up. You don't know.
Sir, we do not promote physical violence of minors on this show.
That character is horrible. Horrid.
It's great though, because
the only character that I truly hate in this show.
Well, no, remember now it's another side story they're doing now because we have Dimitri and Hawk, Johnny versus Daniel. Another example of that, and like they were kind of pushed to the side, but a little bit at the beginning of the season. But Hawk and Dimitri, they were in the final battle of season finale, season 2. And a Hawk is going to kick the crap out of him. And Dimitri just does the wax on, wax off, and then kicks him into the trophy thing. So now Hawk, when he went to go ahead and some cheerleaders and begin his school, they just laughed at him. Like, oh, you're the guy that Pete. They're like, yeah, we know who you are. You're the one that wets his bed and gets kicked into a trophy. It's like he lost his stance. It's like, and while this is going on too with those kids, we got Johnny who is drinking again at the bar. He's getting his course banquet because it's costing beer. Kreese shows up and basically offers like, hey, I know this is typical you. I can see you're kind of back to big feeling sorry for self-drinking. I see this. This isn't the first time, obviously, that he's come across and tried to recruit Johnny again. So he's like, I want you to come back. And he's like, well, you have 3 minutes because a cop showed up. They were getting ready to fight. A cop shows up once he gets lunch. And he's like, the guy's like, how long will it take? He's like, just give me 3 minutes. The bartender does. So he's like, yeah, you got 3 minutes to try, see your spiel. Then I'm kicking your ass. And I love it because Kreese kind of like says something to him that basically just gets him like thinking again. So like, there's chance that if they put you in it, it might be a red herring, but they're trying to get you to think that Johnny down on his luck is right. Son, everything going. Miguel, is mad at him. Maybe he might just go back to Cobra Kai. They're trying to get you to think that way. Meanwhile, they're trying to end over in Okinawa, Japan. Daniel's son, and I forgot what her other girl's name is. Daniel's son, like he's over here. They're trying to say that. Like, I honestly thought when I watched this, I'm like, oh, is he gonna cheat on his wife with this girl? Remember, his ex-lover. They lost touch. There was no email. They can send mail. Right. That's about it.
Different environment, absolutely, especially overseas. Yeah.
Yes, and he's feeling nostalgic. He sees her. His life's in shambles. He's got a good wife. He's got a wife and all stuff. His job's failing. He went there to Japan to basically try and get the deal, but they said we already made a deal with someone else, and so they don't.
Yeah, him and his wife have zero chemistry. It's like I'm not saying she's a bad actress or her character's bad, but
it's the key. It's a key scene though. She starts bringing because her aunt and Mr. Miyagi were lovers, and apparently Daniel did not know this.
Mm-hmm.
So when she starts reading out the letters they make, and the last one was a letter that he the last one before the week he died, she reads it to him. He's basically tearing up, and it was saying that Miyagi says Daniel's son, I was nothing until Daniel came, and basically he gave me a purpose. He was the best thing, and in the way, so Sam was born. I was like, I feel like a grandfather, and all this stuff, and like Daniel never knew this stuff, and he finds out that Miyagi didn't have all the answers. He was lost until Daniel came around, and they gave him a purpose, and that's how he was able to do stuff. So Daniel's been soul searching as far as what to do, because he's Miyagi's position. He's the same age as Miyagi was.
Yep.
And
he says that too.
Yeah. And so this gives him some clarity and stuff, and we finally see Johnny. Johnny obviously must have not chose not to go back to do to join Kreese or accept Kreese offer, because we see him back in the hospital with Miguel. He's like, oh, you're trying to get that phone, pussy? Don't fucking wait there. Like, well, I just can't spend a what? Chance, man, whatever. You want your phone? Get off your ass, crawl out his bed, and go get it yourself. Don't be a quitter. Quitters will stay in the bed, and he does it, and then he's watching. He falls flat on his face. And he's like, oh, yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, but at the same time, that scene was so powerful. When he shouted that quiet, it was like, whoa.
He's like, they're back to where they were. Like when he first did the first thing where he became an sensei, because they still have that bond. And whether Johnny goes or whether Daniel goes bad or not, that's right, not Daniel, but Miguel goes bad or not, I get that same sense with Miguel and Johnny is Kreese and Johnny a little bit in that sense.
Well, because I'm not sure I agree about that.
No, as far as like they have that strong bond, even though that Johnny's not with Kreese, he hates Kreese's guts. He still respects Kreese though in some way.
I don't get that vibe.
I get more of the Miyagi Daniel vibe from Johnny and Miguel, honestly.
Yeah.
The thing is that when he went there, I'm positive that he's not going to join Cobra.
No, he's not going to join. Yeah, obviously, but we don't know. Or they can switch whatever they want to do. We don't know. We're just a viewer. But as far as Johnny and Kreese, when Kreese said, "I'll always be your sensei, whether you were with me or not, I'll always care about you." And in that sense, is Miguel. Whether Miguel hates him or not, Johnny is always going to care about Miguel.
Yeah, but I don't picture Johnny ever like harming Miguel for failing. So no,
not like that. But I'm saying I'm not saying he's gonna be. I'm not saying it's right. He's gonna beat the crap out of him. But I'm saying like they have that strong bond. It's still a strong bond. Whether like it doesn't have to be a caring bond. There's that mutual respect deep down.
But there is one more scene that we didn't mention. Kreese, sometime after the bar, he leaves, and Robbie at the prison center has a visitor. He goes out and he sees Kreese. That's some dangerous stuff right there. Yep. You know what? This show does such a great job of taking characters, and it doesn't matter if they're the good guys or the bad guys. They could switch up anytime. It just takes the right amount of circumstance, and they are the antagonist for this season. This show uses grays so perfectly.
Yeah, I think the danger in that, as we start finishing things up here, is that, like, to me, I'll go back to Tori as an example. I think she's the most consistent character as far as she's demonstrated consistency of her actions along with her words and beliefs. And so she's generally outraged if someone wants to take her man. And you can call it a little streetwise, maybe a little punkish or whatever, spitfire, whatever. But she seems genuine. And of course, they paint her in this season as somebody that's taking care of her responsibilities at home. She's not one to shy away from the reality of the world and what has to happen. So in a way, I feel like she's the most mature out of the entire group, because Robbie's a sissy. Miguel's he's not a sissy, but he's naive in a good boy sort of way. He has to really get hurt by the world, which of course he physically has. We'll see if that continues. Hawk, we know he's the scared little piss your pants boy who's flirting with going back and forth despite the rough exterior and all that. And the thing with Kreese too is as well as the backstory of him's getting filled in here, and I've really enjoyed it. And yes, we're supposed to understand why he is the way he is, and so maybe that's great. Maybe he's not a villain; he's just a great character, and we understand that. It doesn't change the fact that he's a bit of a bastard. And from a coaching perspective, I would simply say that I put him in the evil bad guy category simply because of the way he treats his students. And I am all about treating them hard, treating them rough, treating them like the way preparing them for the way the real world is. And I know he even says things along those lines, but some of the stuff he would do is like, no, that's just not good. That's why I do think of him as the bad guy, but he's smart enough to recognize that because of his backstory. So yeah, to me, he's definitely the villain. Definitely, it should be the villain to me.
Well, yeah, I was talking more on the kids side of thing.
Yeah, same thing too, though. He knows which kids are going to be the bastards and which aren't. Kreese is at least looking for that. The other adults are not. So that's the interesting thing to me about Kreese. He cares about the young people, but part of me goes, well, why? You're 70 years old. You've outsmarted Johnny, got the studio back. You've made something out of yourself because you're a bum traveling around and all that. So he hasn't shown really any redeeming characteristics whatsoever, other than he knows how to take advantage of younger kids in situations to his benefit, whether it's trying to recruit Tori and everything else there too. So that's my whole thing. He's, to me, absolutely by far the bad guy. Chosen, we'll see.
Yeah.
Final thought, guys?
Final thought, Daniel's son, hope you don't cheat.
Daniel's son, go get you some.
My final thoughts is that Hawk really needs to get his ass kicked in, because he is the only character on the kid side of things that since the first season we saw his transformation from lame to kind of cool, but then he became evil. And he stayed that way. That's the thing. I have not seen a true redeeming moment for Hawk. And
you don't see it in his eyes, the way he's looking.
Well,
it's the love of a woman.
Honestly, after he found that, after Dimitri told him, like, you had a good thing with when she really loved you.
Yeah,
so that seed, right? And then you see him kind of the way he kind of acts.
Yep.
A little bit. He's looking at conscience. They're setting it up where Robbie's going to be the new Johnny, and then Miguel's going to be the new Danny. Because your Johnny's going to join with Danny in the Miyagi Dome. They're gonna join. They're gonna join forces against Kreese. You know that they're setting it up, especially with Robbie being talked to at Kreese, and he's just sick of it. The way Robbie acted towards his dad at the soup kitchen. Really,
it's
spoiled brat, and at this point, I don't really care for his character. I kind of wish for him to get beat up more in the juvie.
Which character?
Robbie.
Yeah,
he's had chances. Newer champions that change his life over. He doesn't care.
Yeah,
and they can't. And I hate the fact they tried. The old man when he went to go, when Johnny went to go bar implement, he basically was like, I think it was either him, or it was Kreese that said yeah, your dad was it was the old man said your dad was a loser. He was and you're a loser just like your dad is. Your son's gonna be a loser too. And so and the thing is that I think Johnny, with all his problems, eventually will break his cycle and realize I guarantee it. And when they end this series, I think Robbie will actually come back and actually accept his dad. Realize if he'll actually have his coming of thing moments.
Yeah, no,
it's gonna end in another tournament. Because the first tournament, Miguel went against Robbie. It was the last thing. And that's why they're gonna reverse it. So it's like the show is like you gotta follow it because there's so many different subplots going on, which they're like side quests, side stories. You get the main story and then get the little side stories, and all of them, in their each own way, are interesting. So
it's amazing that these episodes are only close to half an hour because there's so much in them, and we've talked about this before. A good show utilizes its time. I do not feel that this show truly wastes any time. I know, Rob, you said earlier about why does Danny's son need to be in the scene? It's kind of useless. at the same time, it doesn't take away from the fact that that scene was utilized. Every scene here has its purpose. And I truly think it's what makes it a great show.
But the number one most important thing is whatever purpose the scenes may serve to have, whether, like, for example, the scene I mentioned with the kid, whether or not it has value now, we'll see, because maybe I missed it. Maybe I forgot something. That's fine. The problem with releasing them all in one day for everybody to binge watches, there's a lot of hype for a couple weeks, but then it's dead, and it will be that way for another year, maybe year and a half if, there's a delay or something. And so you get out of it. That's why I think releasing them week to week allows people to talk about them in more detail. I think it allows the writing team to perhaps investigate some nuanced opinions about what they wrote out based on viewer feedback, because of the heavy level of dissection that goes on, which I think really drives the fanatical response that you see to the occasional show like Lost or Game of Thrones. But again, this all pales in comparison for why the scenes are there if you don't care about the character. In other words, why should I care about this character? And in each scene, I'm asking myself that. Why should I care about Kreese? Well, they're trying to show his backstory, so I understand where those scenes fit in, whether I choose to or not. I've got more new data. I'm seeing, Tori being very consistent with the character. I haven't really seen it change a lot. I totally understand her motivations, beliefs. I actually kind of respect her character a little bit, whether you think of her as a good girl or a bad girl.
Yeah, Tori, they really gave her a big backstory push, because before we really know anything about her, other than that she was like some girl who was slaving away working at the bowling alley.
Yeah, I thought her affection as she, generated in season, I guess it was 2 she showed up, was the most genuine.
Yeah.
Sam's is very manipulative and not real at all. So to me, I think of Sam as being the bad girl and Tori being the good girl, even though that's maybe not how it's portrayed right now. And
isn't that funny how they give you like Tori being like like it's even get the Johnny and the thing vibes with Danny with those two, their fight.
Yeah,
and Tori's coming in.
This is one of those things that I'm talking about. This show paints each character in such a great way that Rob can see Sam as the bad guy when
she is. She has.
Raymond and I see her as she's okay. We can understand her.
Is she a typical ditz teenager? Spoil? Yeah, she's a rich kid. Yes,
she's not stupid.
Yeah,
she knows what she does. She's manipulative, and it has to be about her.
I'm sorry that you hate women.
Selfish.
You must be broken, sir.
I'm in the Tori camp. You're obviously in the Sam camp. So
I'm in whoever is. As far as Miguel with Tori is chosen to go back with Kreese. So obviously, she's chosen to be the bad guy again. Sam is, I guess, just trying to move on. Yeah, she's about the Mogi Dogo. But I said, Miguel, the best thing is to walk away from both.
Agreed. I agree with you on that.
Because
he can't handle Tori. Tori's too much woman for him, and Sam would be a bad influence. I'm that serious.
I said, no, Tori's got her own mental issues. She's the person that probably assault him if he ever pissed her off. He's walking on eggshells on her all the time because she's that person's like, I don't need a man unless he's going to do everything I say.
I'll kick his ass. That way at all.
No, I can see her being that person, being the abusive person, though.
She's not abusive at all. She takes care of her sweet old elderly parent. Huh?
This is what the show achieves. It's able to give you understanding for each character. It makes you pick how you feel. And there's not many shows that do that. You can watch a show like Game of Thrones and you know exactly this is the bad guy.
You know what I want?
Horrible person.
You know what I want? I want them to show what happened to Kreese if he came back from the war. Was he abusive to the girl that liked him? Because then we'll see that as Tori being the same way.
You're right. But here's the thing, though, the point, and I'll wrap up with this, is that when I talk about this season crashing down to earth while still being entertaining, we have enough data out there based on what's shown that if they try to say, hey, wait a minute, we were trying to make Kreese a good guy or a bad guy, but we haven't done that completely yet. We're going to have to throw in some stuff that maybe, the audience really didn't take it that way. And then they start doing crap like that. That's when they're starting to be monkeys and fling poop on the wall and see, if they can make it to work. And I'm not getting that vibe because that'd be extremely manipulative. And I think that would be taking advantage of us as audience members instead of giving us a little bit of what we want. And it doesn't have to be super complicated. okay, you have to have pretty much a bad guy. And you've got 3 camps going against each other, A, B, and C. So A and B are going to fight B and C, A and C, and then people are going to change, and then we'll repeat it in the All Valley tournament, which we haven't talked about, and we will next time we do episodes 5 and 6 of season 3 of Cobra Kai, is the status of the All Valley tournament and the fact that it's not being run, because there's a little side plot to that too. So I'd like to thank you guys for showing up as usual. Really awesome show here. Looking forward to hearing in a couple of days dropping on the next 2 episodes for it as we finish season 3 of Cobra Kai, currently show on Netflix. So for RDV, for Professor Pixel, myself, Rob, the co-host of the Xtreme movie show, would like to say thanks for listening, guys. As always, stay extreme. Have a good night.
And remember, Cobra Kai never dies.
And we're gonna talk some Wasp here, but we're not up to that episode yet. Out.
Drink some